Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Facebook Live. I'm Diane, and I'm going to show you a little bit about our Floral Extravaganza Minecraft Studio USB today. I hope you're all well. Please join in and say hello. Let me know where you are. Let me know where you're watching from today. Ask any questions you want to ask. I'm going to show you a few of the demonstrations that I did on TV. I know there are a couple of things that I've spoken to people about in the Facebook group, Minecraft Studio Facebook group, that I'm going to try and fit in today. So any of those, feel free, if we get to about 40 minutes in and I've not done it, jump in on the comments and remind me, and I'll add those into the demonstrations. Anything that you want to see that I've done in the demonstrations on TV or anywhere else that you might have seen, just let me know and I will try and squeeze in as much as I possibly can for you. So good morning. It's so nice to know that you're here and you're watching with me. So yeah, it's great to know I'm not just talking to myself. It's always a good feeling because I do that often enough myself. So yeah, so hi everybody. Just wanting to say hello. So we've got Elizabeth in the sunny Midlands. Yes, it's very sunny today, isn't it? It's lovely. We've got, hi Marie, how are you? Hi Jonathan, Lorraine, Mary, good morning. Lovely to see everybody. Oh, Estepona in Spain. Hope the weather's nice for you, Lorraine. It's lovely here in Derbyshire, very sunny, a little bit cool, but not as hot as Friday, but we don't mind that because it was 32 degrees, I think, in Derbyshire last Friday. It's a little bit too warm for me personally. Hi Davina. Okay, so yeah, great to see that you're all watching. So let's get into the computer, shall we? So let's have a look at what we've got. So I am going to start with the very basics. I know a lot of you watching will already know this, but we have had a lot of people buy the Floral Extravaganza and this is their first USB. So I want to start with the very basics of Minecraft Studio and then we'll jump into the demonstrations really quickly after that. Okay, so let's get going. So on the screen, once you've installed the graphics program onto your PC, this is what you will actually see when you open it up. So you see at the moment we've got a grid and a ruler on the page, and when I demonstrate I always take these off just because it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. So if I click on the buttons towards the top, you've got the grid and the ruler. They're both highlighted orange, that means they're switched on. So click on the grid and the ruler and you can see they're not orange anymore and they've disappeared off the screen. So that just makes it easier for you to see what I'm doing. But if you want to work with the grid so that you've got an easy way of aligning things, that will stay on and it will stay over the top of everything that you're actually working on, but it won't print out for you. So, yeah, it's a great way of lining things up. So over to the left-hand side, we have the box where everything's stored. So this is all the files that are on your computer. Now, if I like to liken this to my craft room. So the folder with the artwork in has a plus beside it. So you can see it's got a plus there. So that is like that's like my craft room. So I've gone into my craft room, I've opened the door of my craft room by clicking on the plus. So my artwork folder is where all my crafty stash is. So I've opened up the cabinet that's got all my crafty stash in, and then I've got a drawer that's got my Floral Extravaganza. So I need to open the drawer, so I need to click on the plus. And then in that drawer, I've got all these boxes. So I've got one that's got my backgrounds, embellishments, alphabet, floral builder, floral poses, overlays, and sentiments. Because there's no plus beside them, when we click on them, you actually see all of the beautiful goodies that are in those boxes. So you can see here we've got all of these backing papers. These are just here ready for you to click and print if you wanted to. To get one onto the page to print out, all we do is literally click and drag it over, pop it anywhere on the white area, and then you can just press the print button if you want to print, and it's as simple as that. There's lots of other things that we can do with it, but that's the very first thing that you can do with Minecraft Studio. This is an A4 page. So you can see that we've got the white area is A4, this can be A5 and this can be A6, it can be any size that you want it to be dependent on your printer. So if you have an A3 printer, then this can also be A3. To change the size of the page, all we do is go to the print tab and then we go to the page size. So this is determined by your printer. So everything in here is the sizes that the printer that's attached to this computer here in our studio will allow. So we can have an A3 page if we like. If I now zoom out, you'll see that A4 background is on the A3 page. If I click, pop it up to the top corner, click in the bottom corner here and stretch it up, that's now an A3 backing paper because the page is A3, because our printer on this one will allow us to do A3. However, if you've got an A5 piece of paper and you don't want to waste it, you don't want to use the ink to print a full A4 sheet, you can actually make it A5 and you can print an A5 sheet of paper. So you pop that onto there, fill the page, and now it's A5. Simple as that. But if you wanted to print the full size design on the A5, you don't have to shrink it. So you can have the design this size on the A5, or we can shrink the design so that it's a little bit more reduced in size, because you may want it a bit smaller if you're making a smaller project. So lots of different ways that you can work with the sizes, but you can see it's really easy to change the size of the design that you're working with. So click and drag away from the image to make it bigger and towards it to make it smaller. So I'm going to make my page A4 again. So again, we're just going to click on the page size button in the print tab, and we're going to go to A4. So now we've got an A4 white page. Back down into the bottom right hand corner to drag the little slider over and get the page full size on my screen. And then here we've now got the page, the paper on the page. So it's now back to A4. So I'm going to change the colour of this design to show you how easy it is. We've got 360 different colours for every single paper that we've got on this USB, and any other image that you like. So we've got the effects tab. So above where you've got, so this is your crafty stash, and this is now your toolkit. So this is where you find all your colours of inks and things like that. So we're going to go to the colour section, and we've got the hue slider. So if we start to move this one, you'll see it changes to shades of red, shades of green, and it makes it a tonal paper, absolutely beautiful. And when you get to a shade that you like, you just literally stop moving the mouse, and that's the colour that will print when you actually press the button to print the paper. So again, you've got 360 different variations of each design. And if I just stop there, but if you want this a little bit brighter, we also have the saturation slider, so we can make it bright and vivid if you wanted to. You can also take it down and make it black and white. You can go all the way down to black and white, or just a tint. I really like doing it just a tint of colour on there because it's really, really beautiful. But you can see we can go really bright and vivid and intense as well. And this is just one paper, but we can go bright and vivid and intense. We can have it purple, we can have it blue, we can have it green, we can have it yellow, we can have it teal, any different colour that you like. And then there we're back to the original, just a little bit brighter than it was. And then there you can see, back to the original design. Now what I want to show you as well, I'm just going to bring on a couple of different designs. So this one's got extra colours in it. So you can see this one was all purple. This one's got purples and pinks and greens in it. So if I now go to the hue slider, I'm going to delete this one off the page, go back to the home tab, press the delete button, because we're going to play with this one. And we'll copy and paste it a couple of times onto the page. So up to the top, we've got copy and paste, pops it directly over the top. You can also right click with your mouse and copy, and right click and paste, and that pops it over the top again. So you see we've got 3 different versions of this paper on here. It looks like there's just one at the moment, but once we start changing the colour, you'll see the difference. So I'm going to use the middle one, and we're changing this one to shades of green, shades of blue, shades of pink, shades of red. So you can see there, beautiful shades of pink on that one. But if we use this one here on this end, and then we use the rainbow slider, you'll see that the greens and the pinks change to different colours and kaleidoscope around the image. So you can see we've got different shades and different tones of colours throughout this design. So this is 360 different versions on the rainbow slider, plus 360 different versions on the colour, on the hue slider. So again, you've got 360 different versions there, but then we can go into the pastels with the brightness slider. We can go down to the saturation, we can take the saturation down, we can put the saturation up, all these different options. One of the other things we can do is we can reduce the opacity. So we're working on this one on the far end at the moment. And if I reduce the opacity of this one, you'll see we're actually making it transparent, which makes it look like vellum. So if you've got printable vellum, fantastic, because it is beautiful. If you don't have any printable vellum, you're crafting at 10 o'clock at night and you really, really want it to look like you've got vellum, reduce the opacity, print it onto paper, and it will look absolutely beautiful. It will just give you, obviously it won't look exactly like vellum, but it will give you that softness, it will give you a look of vellum rather than, you know, having to find a shop at 10 o'clock at night which is going to have stock and all that, which is just not going to happen. So that's how we change the colours. Really, really quick and simple. So I'm just going to clear the page down by pressing select all and pressing the delete button. I'm going to go back to the files. So at the moment we've just looked at a couple of the backgrounds on here. So we've actually got 72 backgrounds. So it says 56 in the folder, but that's because a lot of the backgrounds up at the top have actually got multiple versions. So what I did when I was designing these papers was I gave you different options with them. So you see this one here, we've got the poppy. And then what I thought was you know, I love that paper. However, this poppy is really large, so you may not want to have that size of design on your project, but also you may want to use this as a topper rather than a backing paper, because remember, you can resize it. That's now a topper instead of a backing paper. So simple and quick with Minecraft Studio. So just going to undo that and pop it back to there. But you've also got this paper. So again, this is perfect for matting and layering and all those different options. But then we've also got it without the extra layer of poppies on there as well. So you see you've got all these different versions and different options within the papers. So that's background 2, but you've also got a 2A and a 2B. And then for 3, you've got a 3A and a 3B, and 4 has got 4A, B and C on that one. So you've got lots of layers on that one. Lots of different options. So again, we'll clear the page down. And then we've got some embellishments. Now I love the embellishments. They're just beautiful. And they look like cabochons. So what I did was I designed them so that they've got the, it's kind of almost like the resin embellishments that you get. So you can see they've actually got the shading on there. So they look like your resin embellishments. Now if you print these off and actually print them off and pop just some clear glue or some glossy accents over them, they really look dimensional, but again they would be a flat piece of paper, so you're not adding extra dimension to your projects. So lots of different ones of these. So you see this one's a perfect match to the backing paper we were just playing with. We've got so many of these to go with all the beautiful florals, lots of different versions of them. So what I'm just going to show you quickly is how we can make a backing paper out of an embellishment. So we're just going to grab one of these here, so we'll go with this one here. Beautiful pink one there. Pop it into the corner. If you can see, we're just going to reduce it in size. So again, we'll just pop the mouse over the corner and it just drag away from the image to make it bigger and towards it to make it smaller. And we're going to press the button over in the image tool section that says tile. So those white boxes have now changed to blue. And when we pull this now, we're actually replicating the image rather than resizing it. So we're going to bring this down here and we made a backing paper. So we're going to go to the backgrounds and we'll find a backing paper that we can use with this one. So we'll go with, let's go with this one. So I'm going to pop that over the top and go to the effects. I'm going to change the colour slightly first just to make it a little bit more pink. So we'll add a little bit of saturation in and then we'll go up to the other end and get a bit more pinky colour in there. So again, so that now matches. So you can see how quick and easy it is to make the design match just by moving the sliders a little bit. And then we're going to pop this over the top. Go to the effects, we're going to use the opacity this time. So the one that makes it look like vellum that we just showed you. I'm going to drag this down to the left a little bit. Here you can see now we've got those beautiful roses over the top with the embellishments showing through. The embellishments are a little bit too big at the moment, so I'm going to go into the layers tab and click onto the one so these are layers. So this is one layer and this is a second layer, because we're actually building the design up literally as if you're putting the pieces on top when you're on your craft table, but you're just doing it digitally. So I'm going to go to the bottom layer. I'm going to click on that one there in the layers tab. I'm going to click on the tile button again, and those blue boxes are going to change to white, which now means that we can resize. So we're going to make them smaller, and then when we press the tile button again, back to blue, and then we take them down again. I'm going to reduce the opacity on those a little bit as well. So you can see we've got a nice soft design in the background there, so you can see the flowers coming through as well. And then I'm going to go back to the files and back into the embellishments, and we've got some flourishes in here, which are absolutely gorgeous, so beautiful. We'll go with this one here. So you can see it's a little bit lilac, so I'm going to change the colour to pink in just a second. Pop that over there. So I'm going to pop it there. I'm going to pop it over to the side. So it's going to overhang the edge. Now it doesn't matter that this overhangs the edge, because the only bit that will print when you press the print button is what's on the white area. So these bits around the edge will not print. But just because I'm one of those people who like it to look right, I'm going to crop it. So we can press the crop button up at the top of the image, and then we go, as soon as you click, it fades the image out. So you can see now, we've just clicked and dragged, and you can just select the area that you want to crop. So then I just need to zoom out just a little bit so I can get to the button. You can press OK or cancel. Just going to show you that again because that was really quick, but that's the beauty of Minecraft Studio. So we press the crop button. Doesn't look like anything's happened, but it's activated the crop feature. So we click where we want to start to crop. So I'm going to start to crop at the edge of the paper, and then it fades out. Now you need to hold down on your mouse button and then drag over the area that you want to take out of the design. So this is the area you want to keep, not take out. So you can see here, the area you want to keep is highlighted. The area that we're getting rid of is the area that's faded out. So let go of the mouse, press OK, and then we can move that there. You can see that the rest of the design's actually gone. So we've got this lined up perfectly on the edge of the page. Just want to change the colour of it slightly. So again, we're going to go up to the pink area of the slider, and we'll add a little bit of saturation in there just to get it a bit more pink. There you can see. So now we'll just pull it back just a little bit. There we go. And then we'll just reduce the opacity on there. And now we've got our own beautiful backing paper that we've created using just 3 elements. So one embellishment that we've used to make a full background. We've also got the backing paper that we've changed the colour of to make it toned. And then we've got the flourish, which is one of the embellishments again. So we used 3 elements to create our own backing paper. But what we can do now is when we go into the layers tab, you can really start to play about, because this now gives you multiple options for your backing paper. Because when you want to print this, if you're wanting to do your matte and layering, remember in the backgrounds I was saying earlier that I've actually saved the backing papers that are on here in different layers for you, for matte and layering, for coordination on your project. You can do that yourself, because you go to the layers tab, you can switch off any of these elements that you like. So there we've got the embellishments with the flourish, and there we've got just the rose paper with the flourish, and there we've got the paper with just the embellishments behind, and then we've got all 3 together. But if you wanted to just print the flourish, so you could print that onto vellum and then emboss it, that would look beautiful. Print it onto acetate and overlay it. Lots and lots of different options, but again, all so simple. And you can save your files as well. So let's just quickly run through that. So I'm going to save this file and save it as 2 different versions. So we're going to save as, so the button's at the top left. And we're going to save it as a craft project, which is an MCSX file. And we'll just call it paper. It will save into the documents folder on your computer. And you can pop it anywhere. Save it on an external hard drive, on a USB stick if you wanted to. So just call it paper and we'll save it. And then we will also press save as. Click on where it says craft projects, and we've got the option to save it as a JPEG as well. So we'll click on JPEG Pro quality. If you're ever going to just email something to somebody, then I would save it on a lower quality because it will reduce the file size. So I'm just going to call this paper. So we've called it paper again, and it's going to be a JPEG this time. So we've done that. So now we're going to clear the page down. So we're going to select all and delete, so everything's gone off the page. So we've got a couple of different options now. So the one that we saved as a JPEG is in our documents folder called paper. You can see we've got this here, and now this is one flat file. So all of it is locked together. Remember we went into the layers tab a minute ago? It's now just one layer. But that means that we can then start to add more to it. So we can go in and we can, we can pick another flourish. So let's have a look. We'll go with this one. Could pop this one in the top corner if you wanted to. Lots and lots of different options. But also you've then got all your different colour options. So just click onto the page, move the hue slider, all of these different options. There, ready for you straight away. And then if I now, so we've got that one there, that's the JPEG file. Click on open. So rather than finding your file that is a Minecraft Studio editable file in this box, you need to click on the open button. And again, because it's saved in documents, it's there straight away for me. So we click on paper and click on open. And there is our paper. So I just need to switch the grid and the ruler off, because when you open a new page, it automatically puts them on. We can go back to the layers tab, and then we've still got all these different options for our paper, which mean that if you choose to, you can actually swap that flourish for that one. So this one here, we go to layers, switch that one off, bring this one in, make it bigger. And again, we could just crop that one. So just go down from this bottom corner up to the top, just get rid of that outside bit. Into the effects, add a little bit of saturation, just that we can get the right shade of pink. Go up to the pink area, reduce the opacity, and there we just changed it, as simple as that. So just by saving it as a Minecraft Studio file instead of a JPEG, you've got different options. So that's the different ways of saving. You can also switch the other flourish back on if you wanted to, and switch that one off, switch the different layers off, and just play about with your design. It's completely up to you, and this is one of the things I love the most about Minecraft Studio. So let's have a look at building one of the wreaths with the Floral Extravaganza USB. So I'm just going to have a quick drink of water. Bear with me 1 second. Bear with me while I use my massive bottle. I do need to remember to bring a glass into the studio rather than the vat of water that I drink every day. So we're going to go into the Floral Builder folder. And in this folder we've got 143 designs. These are all different elements that you can use to create well, any floral arrangement. It doesn't need to be a wreath, it can be anything you want it to be. It can be a bouquet, it can be a posy, absolutely anything. But we have got 3 wreaths at the top of the page. So you can see here we've got this one with the berries on. We've got this one here which is a quite a woody, distressed kind of looking, a twiggy one. And then we've got this one here which is also a twig one, but it's but this is a little bit more contemporary, I think. So it depends on the style that you're looking for. So so what we need to do is just bring the design onto the page that you want to work with. And I'm going to work with this one. I'm going to reduce it in size and pop it onto the page, and then we're going to decide what flowers we want. Now this is the hardest part. So I'm going to go with, I'm going to stick to the top of the folder and we'll go with some of these beautiful purples here, I think. So we'll bring this on, reduce it in size and pop it over the top of the wreath here. So you can see, just pop that over there. I'm just adjusting it so that I've got it the right size and the right position for what I'm wanting to do. So you can see there, I'm just going to delete that off the page and show you what I did again, because this is where I get a bit carried away and just start doing things without actually telling you what I'm doing. So when I pop this over here, I'm resizing it because obviously it's too big at the moment. So we're going to resize it down. But then I also want to change the angle of it, because if I pop it there, it's not quite flowing with the circle. So I'm just going to rotate it a little bit, and to do that we've got a little circle above where we've got the image. So the little circle is above it, and you can see we're just clicking and dragging and rotating it around. If you want to rotate it at 45-degree angles, just hit the shift button on your keyboard, and then when you rotate, it will go at 45-degree angles. So you see it snaps all the way around automatically. So, but I just want to have a little bit of an angle on there. So I'm just going to pop that on there, like so. Reduce it just a little bit more. Now I'm going to copy and paste, because I want a second one. However, I want the second one to be facing the opposite direction. Now if I rotate this one, so it's in the opposite direction, you'll see it's actually then facing the wrong way. So we need to flip it as well. So we need to right click and flip, and then you can flip horizontally or you can flip vertically. So flip it horizontally, and we'll rotate it around, pop it down there, pop it in a little bit more, and we're starting to build our wreath. I'm going to bring this down a little bit more actually and pop the floral design down towards the bottom a little bit more. So there we've got that, and then we'll add some foliage in. I think we'll go with a little bit of a eucalyptus, because that's just such a beautiful colour. So I'm going to pop this up here. I am going to flip this one because I want it to face the opposite direction again. And we'll shrink it down a bit and have it just popping out up there. So you can see at any point you can flip it the opposite back again. So you can right click and flip horizontal, it goes back again, or you've always got the undo button up at the top. So that undoes, so it goes back 20 steps. So if you, if you decide you want to go back a little bit, but then you also decide you don't want to go back and you've changed your mind, you want to go forward again, you have got the redo button which takes you back by 20 steps as well. So you can see you've got all those different options. So again, we're just going to reduce that in size and flip it horizontally. Oh, see, this is where we need the undo button because I clicked on the wrong thing. So use the undo button to put the wreath back in place. Click on the eucalyptus. Again, I'm just going to move it around a little bit. I'm going to right click and I want to send it behind the eucalyptus. However, because I've got multiple layers on this file, so if I click on the layers tab, look, you see here, we've got lots of different things on this project now. So we've got all these different elements. But if I right click on the eucalyptus, I can send it back by one layer, or I can send it all the way to the back. So if I go to order and send it backwards, you see it jumps back by one layer, but that means it's behind this one because it's still over the top of this one, because everything that you bring on goes on in order. So it's literally as if you're bringing on different layers of paper and stacking them up. So I need to send it behind one more layer. So order and send backwards, and now it's behind those flowers. So if I just right click and copy and paste, now pops another one straight over the top. Bring this one down here. I'm going to rotate that one round, but I am going to actually leave that one facing in the opposite direction to this one, so that we've got a little bit of variety in there as well, because nothing in nature is absolutely identical. So we're going to have a little bit of variation there. So I'm going to send this backwards. Again, that's gone backwards by the one layer. Just pull it out just a little bit more. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so you can see a bit more of what we're doing there. So you see we've got lots of things there. So hi Alison. So Alison's question is, would it be better to start with the foliage first, then add the flowers? Yeah, absolutely. It all depends on how you're actually choosing to build your design. I actually personally prefer to choose my flowers and then build up from the flowers, because then I can choose which foliage I actually want to go with. But it's entirely up to you. And one of the other things that I tend to do as well when I'm building the designs is, so if I bring on, let's bring on this one here. So I'm going to pop this one in the centre of this one here. So pop that one there and pop it in the centre. And then if I bring on, let's have a look. We'll go with some berries, I think. Pop some berries on here. So pop that up there. So what I did find when I was actually starting to play with this USB was I got so much on there that you start to send things backwards, and you're sending it backwards, sending it backwards, sending it backwards. And what I actually started to do was, if I go open up the layers tab so that you can see what we're doing, because all I want to do is send this behind everything apart from the wreath, what I actually found quicker, because if I want to send this backwards all the way to just the front of the wreath, I've got to do that half a dozen times. But what I can do is send it all the way to the back and then order and bring it forwards a couple of times, and then all I'm doing is bringing it in front of the layers that I've got on there. Bear with me 1 second. It's bring it forwards. I keep clicking on the send backwards 1 sec. It's because I'm looking in the wrong place. So bring it forwards and bring it forwards. There you can see now it's in front of the leaves but behind the flowers. But because I've got lots of flowers on there, I didn't want to send it backwards. So I just sent it to the back and brought it forwards by one layer. So now what you can do is bring in some more foliage. And let's add this here. So I'm just literally picking things and popping them in. So we'll pop that there and we'll rotate it a little bit so it's sticking out a bit. Order, and we'll send that to the back and bring it forward a couple of times. Yeah, so we've got a question from Anne about using this USB with the 2 Red Robins USBs. Absolutely. You can use any of the artwork from any USBs, as long as they're either on your computer or you have the USB plugged into your computer and the artwork is accessible, then absolutely you can use them all together. So if you wanted to, you could pop a robin onto this design. So many different options. So I was going to send that one to the back and then bring it forwards so that it's just in front of the wreath rather than just in front of it. I'm just going to go to the layers tab. I seem to have a stray layer. I'm not quite sure what that is, so I'm going to delete that one. Yeah, I'm not sure what that one was. I've got a random layer on there, which is that's what's throwing out the sending it to the back and bringing it forwards by one layer. So I'm just going to go order and bring forwards, and then now that foliage is in front of the wreath but behind the flowers, and then we'll pop that there so it gives a little bit of green on there. Now one of the other things that you can do if you wanted to, I'm just going to delete these bits off the page. So what we can also do, once you've got the top bit and you're happy with the top section, so we've got those berries there, I'm just going to rotate those around a little bit more, and I'm just going to add a little bit more foliage just around this area here. So let's grab another leaf and we'll go with this one. Yeah, that'll look lovely. A little bit of, now do you say gypsophila or gypsophilia? because there's usually a debate around here as to how you actually say it. So I say Gypsophilia personally, and so does Andrew, who's my absolute tech guru in my ear. So we're going to send it to the back. So what we can do now, if you want to have this and then flip it the other way, what we can do is we can move the wreath out of the way, click and drag a box over this so it covers all of everything that you've got there, and then you can group, and then we can right click and copy, right click and paste. Now we've got an identical version of that group. We can flip the group, we can rotate that around, and then we can pop the wreath back in place, and then we can just adjust this one here. Now again, because I said earlier, you know, nothing is symmetrical, nothing is identical in nature, what we can also do is we can actually use these buttons at the edge to actually squish it in a little bit or squish it down a little bit, just so it looks a little bit different and doesn't look identical. However, if you want it to look identical, it absolutely can as well. So I'm just going to undo that because I actually think I prefer it to look identical on this one. So we're going to pop that there, and then we're going to add, we'll go back to that particular flower there. I love these ones. I'm not quite sure what flowers these are. I feel like they're hydrangeas, but they just look, maybe it's a version of a hydrangea. I do love hydrangeas. Having a bit of a drama with my hydrangea in the garden at the moment. There's some kind of pest seems to have taken a liking to it, which is upsetting me greatly. But never mind, we will not be defeated. So we've got that in the centre there, and we'll just add a couple of single leaves in it now. So pop that there, rotate it around, right click, send it backwards. I'm going to pull it out just a little bit and then shrink it down a bit more. Oh, make sure you're clicking on the right layer, into the layers tab. So if something's a little bit difficult to grab hold of, go into the layers tab and click on it so that you've actually got hold of it. And then we're going to copy and paste. It always pastes it directly over the top. We're going to flip this one. We'll flip it horizontally and pop it just in there. And we'll send this backwards. And then we'll just paste another one. So if you press paste again, you don't have to press copy, it will just paste it directly over the top of the first one. So pop another one down there, right click, and we'll send that backwards. And you see that's tucked just behind this one now. So we'll pop that there so that the leaf is actually tucked inside. So it's just breaking up that purple a little bit and giving us a little bit more detail in there. Now one of the other things that we've got on the USB are our sentiments, which I loved creating these because it meant that I actually, you know, I did a little bit of research and Googling and found these sentiments online, and they are so, so beautiful. So this one here says, "Love is the flower you've got to let grow," which is a John Lennon sentiment, and I just think it's really, really lovely. And then we've got "The earth laughs in flowers," which is just beautiful. Lots of different sentiments on here. So the sentiments I've put on in black because a lot of people, when they're making a really vibrant coloured card, prefer to have just a little sentiment in black. So the sentiment can be any size you want. These are images, so these aren't editable text files. So again, it can be a small sentiment, it can be a large one. So I'm going to leave that in the middle of the wreath. And then if I want to change the colour of it, we'll go to the effects tab. But to change the colour of something that's black, the first thing you need to do is add some colour into it. So we need to use the colour boost slider. So we're going to use this one. I'm just going to literally drag the red one across a little bit, and you can see the sentiment is turning a little bit red. And then we can go to the hue slider, and now we can change it to any colour that we like. So we'll get it to a little bit of a purpley colour, and then we'll reduce the saturation a little bit just to take it down and make it tone a little bit. And there you can see we've got our file, which is complete. So that's our topper. And then if we go to the backgrounds, I'm just going to grab a backing paper and pop this behind. And I've actually realised that I have actually just pretty much made the one that I've got ready to make as a paper demonstration. So I'll show you what it looks like printed out. Slightly different, but I'm just going to send that to the back. And there you can see we've got beautiful paper behind it. So I'm just going to crop that paper and just crop it so that it fits around the design. Just bring this top one down just a little bit, press OK, and there we've got our topper. So now if we select everything that's on the page and group it, you can see that we can resize everything together. So that's how we actually build a wreath. So I just love playing with this USB. You just get so carried away, you know, I'm not going to take any blame for anybody losing a day just once you get it home and you start playing with it, because it's very, very, for me, I find it very therapeutic, just to sit and play, because I would love to be able to draw these things. I would love to be able to stamp and colour them as perfectly as they are, but I'm not that talented. So for me, being able to create them digitally is just an absolute dream. So this is our topper. So we're just going to save that file, and we've now got it saved, and then we can come back to that later. So I'm going to clear the page down, and we will start again, and we'll go back into the floral builder, and I'll show you how we change the colour of our flowers. So we'll go with this one here. So I'm going to make it quite big on the page. And so when we change colour of designs, obviously it changes the colour of the whole image. Now this image is pink and green because obviously there's a flower head and there are leaves on there. And you may not want the whole of it to change at the same time. So I'm going to copy and paste, so we've got two on the page, so that you can see what we're actually doing. So this is the original, so I'm just going to leave the original over there and leave this one here. So obviously if we were to, in fact I'm going to paste another one onto the page as well. So put one down here. So if we were to change this one, go to the effects tab and we change the colour, you can see then the leaves are changing colour at the same time as the flower head, which, you know, may well be the look that you're going for, but you may also want to change the colour of the flower head without changing the colour of the leaves. You can use the rainbow slider, because there you can see in the first few options on this one, it changes the flower heads going into orange tones and the leaves are going into more bluey green tones. However, once we start to move further in, then the leaves become pink or yellow or orange, which you may not want because it looks like the flower's, you know, past its best, basically. So, so you can see there we've got these different options. But what we're going to do with this one now is I'm going to zoom into the page so that we can see the detail of the flower. And we're going to use our digital scissors. Bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to have another drink of water. See, the beauty of TV is when I go to have a drink of water, the presenter starts talking, so I get to have a minute resting my voice. So, going to use the digital scissors. Now, if you've never used Minecraft Studio before, the digital scissors is literally what it says. So it's a tool where every click with your mouse is a snip of a pair of digital scissors. So we're going to click on the scissors and the image will fade out. You see it's faded out and we've got a box around it. So each click now with my mouse is a snip with a pair of scissors. And the line that appears is the line that the scissors are actually following. So we're going to go around here, and the red area that is appearing is actually the area that we're going to cut. So you can see here we're going around. Now because there's nothing here, because this is a transparent image, there's nothing in this bit, it doesn't matter, we don't have to go perfectly around the edge of it. We can go all the way outside. And then you see the red area now is the actual flower head. So it's actually highlighting specifically the flower head because we've gone around that outside edge and that's the area that we're highlighting. When we get back to the beginning, the black line changes to blue. So when you click that, you see we've got the blue selection. So now the buttons underneath this box say keep outer, keep inner, cancel, copy and cut. So cancel just takes it back to the original image. We can keep the outer, which keeps everything outside of that blue box. We can keep the inner, which keeps everything inside, so that gets rid of the leaves. We can cut it, so it will actually cut it off and then we can paste it onto a different project if you've got two pages open. Or we can also copy. So if we copy it, it's actually put it on our virtual clipboard. And then if we right click and paste, it's actually pasted a flower head directly over the top of the original one. So I'm going to go to the layers tab and show you. If I click off the image that we've got selected, you see we've now got one on there. So this one here is purely the flower head. So you can see we've got that one there, and if I click that one off, nothing's happened. If I click that one off, you can see it's disappeared. There's just the flower head. Click the flower head off, there's the image, and then we've switched the flower head back on. So you need to make sure that you've clicked on just the flower head layer. So you can see I've clicked on the one that is the one that's got no green on the image and it says it's the copy of. So now we go to the effects tab. and we use the hue slider, and we are just changing the colour of the flower head on its own. The leaves are staying exactly the same shade. There's no worrying about them changing to a different shade at all. So that's all changing perfectly. But what we're actually doing, so you know, it's not a magic trick. We're not actually doing something magic where we're only changing the colour of part of the image. What we're actually doing is we are changing the colour of the top layer. So if I click that one off now, you see the pink one is underneath. And again, what we can do is we can copy and paste, and we can paste a couple of those on there. We can click on each one. So click on the top one, so go to the effects, and we'll make that one purple. Go to the layers, we'll switch that one off. Click on the next one, go to the effects, and we'll make this one blue. And we'll make it a little bit brighter on that one, so a little bit softer there. Maybe take the saturation down a little bit. Just a little bit there. Go back to the layers, switch the blue one off, click on the next one, and then let's go for a yellow on this one. And then back to the layers tab and switch that one off. So I'm going to zoom back out again. I'm going to select the original one, copy and paste. So that's the original one. So you can see here we've got all these different colour options for the original one if we wanted to go tone on tone. So you can see we've got blues and purples and greens there. But then if I go back to the layers tab and start to switch these on, so this one here is the orange one. Then we've got the yellow one, then we've got the blue one, then we've got the purple one. But if I switch all of those off, underneath it you've still got the original one. So there's so many different options. Now we can actually save these as different files as well. So where we talked about the JPEG and the Minecraft Studio file earlier. So if I switch all of these on, it doesn't matter whether they're switched on or off. If you save the file, they will still be there. But we're just going to save the file. I'm going to save as, we'll call it Coloured Flower, as an MCS project, because that then means that all of those layers are still there and we can still switch them off and on, and we can still change the colour of them. But then what we're also going to do is we're going to save this as a JPEG and a PNG. So I'm going to select everything that's on the page and I'm going to group it. I'm going to make it as big as I possibly can on the page. And this is because when we save it as a PNG, it will save the full page as a PNG, but it will also save some of the blank space. So I'm going to ungroup, and then we're going to go to Save As. I'm going to save this one as a JPEG. So I'm going to save it as a JPEG there, and we'll just call it Flower 1. And then we're going to save it as a PNG. So to go to the Brushes tab. Now a PNG and a JPEG file they're basically the flat files that we use in Minecraft Studio. However, the difference is a JPEG has a white area around it, and a PNG doesn't. A PNG are the flowers and the leaves that you bring on and you build up your design, because there's nothing around them. They're the little individual pieces. A backing paper is a JPEG file because it's a full solid piece, or a topper would be a JPEG because it's a solid piece. And then it makes it a smaller file type, but it works in exactly the same way from a Minecraft Studio perspective. Now to get this, at the moment if we save it as a PNG, it will be white around it instead of transparent because it's got the white canvas on there. So to save it as a PNG, what we need to do is we need to go to the Brushes tab. So it's not in the Effects or Layers, this is in the Brushes tab, and this is where a lot of people have been asking where to find it. So you've got the files and then you've got the brushes. It's where the colour picker is, and it's next to the colour picker. You've got a box called Constants, which gives you hundreds of different colours. And at the moment it's set to white, that's the default, and that is the colour of the page. The page can be any of these colours in this box here. So you've got all these different colours. But we've also got transparent. So you can see now the white's disappeared out of this box, and this box is a preview of what this area is going to look like. So if I now press Set, that's a transparent image. So if we save as, and we save this as a PNG, and we call it Flower 1, and then we've saved it as a transparent PNG. Now if we go to the Layers tab and start to switch off these and save this one as a PNG, and we'll call this one Flower 2, and we'll switch this one off. You can see where we're going with this, can't you? So save this one as a PNG. and we'll go flower 4, just because Andrew told me to. So what we're going to do now is we're going to delete everything off the page, but we're going to set the page back to being white. So go back to the brushes tab, into the constants, press white, and we set it, and that's the page back to being white. So select all, and we're going to delete everything off the page. So now what we can do is we can open the file, so we can open the coloured flower one back into layers, and we can switch the layers off as we did before. But what we can also do is going to clear the grid and ruler. So I'm just going to group everything together. So select all and group, and I'm just going to move this out of the way, because what we can also do is go to files and go to documents, and this is where we've saved our PNG files. So this one is the one that we saved as a JPEG, so the first one. So you can see it's got the white area around it. Now the only way to get rid of the white area on a JPEG image is to use those digital scissors and cut it, and that would mean going all the way around this this flower, which we don't want to do, which is why we save it as a PNG. Because when we save it as a PNG, you see it works in exactly the same way as all of the flowers that we've actually got on here. So it's transparent around the edges, and it means you can build this into your designs. So if I just zoom out a little bit, you'll see that the boxes are all the way around this, because Microsoft Studio will save the page the size that the canvas is. So that's what size your image is. So you can see we've got this area around the bottom here. So if we just go to the crop button and we crop this design, so you can see there we're just going to crop. So when we get, so you can see if I just bring this down until I've just got to the edge of the image and let go. Now press OK and resize this. We can then tile our own flower that we've created and create our own backing paper using your own bespoke design that you've created within Minecraft Studio. So you can go back to documents. We've also got the blue one there, and we've also got the yellow one there, which is there ready for you to play with and create with as you choose, because that's the thing with Minecraft Studio. You choose how you want to work with the designs. You choose the colour, you choose the size, you choose whether you want it turned this way or this way, whether you want it upside down, whether you want it on paper, vellum, acetate. You can choose so many different things. That's the versatility of the graphics program. And it's so easy to use, I promise you. Please don't be scared when we say it's a graphics program, because it really, really is so easy to use. So okay, so Bev's wanting to know about changing the colour of text in a text box. So I'm going to add some text on here. So we'll just type in happy birthday. So yes, Bev is the answer to your question. So if I just copy and paste this onto the page a couple of times. So we've got a couple of different ways of changing the colour of your text. So I'm going to zoom in so that you can see what we're doing, and I'm going to bring on an image. So we'll go into the Floral Builder, we'll grab one of the images from further down in the page, because we've not actually looked at any of these ones yet. So we'll go with this lovely yellow one here. So to change the colour of your text, you can use the Effects tab, and you can use the Colour Boost in exactly the same way as we did before, and use the slider to change the colour in that way. And again, you can use the brightness to make it pastel, and you can use the saturation to make it a bit less intense on the colour. But what we can also do with the text is we can use the colour picker. So if I go to the brushes tab, so the place where we found the transparent button, so go to the brushes, we use the colour picker. So below this box, so when we get into the brushes tab, this box it's just a blue box. However, it's so much more than that, because every click within this box, every click on every dot is a different shade of that blue. So you've got millions of different colours in here, because every single area on this slider has got all those different colours and different clicks in there. You can see the text is changing colour as I click further up and down. So we can get quite close with our yellows to the design that we've got here. However, if we want to get an exact colour match to something that's in your image, you can go to the picker tool. So you click on there, and it's change the mouse to a pen, and I'm going to go for the orange so that you can see. So I'm now going to click with my mouse on the orange in there. You need to have your text selected. Oops. So select the text and then click on the picker tool, and then we're going to click on the orange in the image, and then we're going to click back on the picker and we'll click on a different area and click on the picker. We'll go to the green and then we'll go to the yellow. So you can see you can get an exact colour match for the text to your image. So we've gone from black to changing the colour with the sliders. Make sure you add the colour boost first and then use the hue sliders, and then also you can use the colour picker to get any colour, because this mouse, when you change it to a pen using the colour picker, the point of that pen is going to pick any single dot anywhere within this image. So between these two petals there's a little brown layer in there that's just a little bit darker. So you can see there, just pop the mouse over there and you can have that exact dot that you want to have within there. And that works with your photographs, it works with your own images, it works with the Two Red Robins ones, it works with any image anywhere. So hopefully that helps, Bev. And while we're in text, that's reminded me of something else that somebody asked me how to do. So somebody was asking about getting a solid square. So one of the things you can do within this area, so if we click in here, obviously this is changing this box here, which we talked about a few minutes ago, where we change the transparency. So you can see there we've now got purple. If I press the set button, that page is now that exact colour. So we can bring on any image, go to brushes, use the colour picker, pick that one and set it, and that is the colour of your canvas. So then at that point you've got a perfect colour match to your image for a sheet of backing paper. But you may not want to print out a full sheet. So I'm going to go back to white and set. And then we're going to go, in fact I'll leave that image on there. We'll add some text. And I'm just going to type a capital I. This is going to look a little bit random for now, but bear with me. So we're going to get a nice chunky font. Now remember, the fonts are any font that's on your computer, so just get one that's really chunky. Go to the colour picker and select the colour that you want. And then we're going to make this big on the page. And then we're going to go to Digital Punch. And we're going to go to Basic Shapes. I'm going to find a square, in that, there we go, reduce that in size, and then we're going to keep the inner. So now you've got your square in your perfect colour. So it doesn't have to be a full page, but we've actually used the Digital Punch to punch the square from the text, because with the text you can actually colour pick the exact colour that you want. And because this is, even though this is now a square which is the matting and layering for your topper base, or just a square for anything you want it to be, you can see we can actually go to brushes, go to the picker, and we can change the colour of it in that way. So then we can go to the home tab, we can open our topper, and then we can copy and paste this square into there. Obviously it's orange at the moment. Bear with me 1 second, that's pasted the full I again. So go back to here, right click, copy, right click, paste. It's going to paste the full letter, and then we just need to digitally punch it again. So find the square, pop it on there, and keep the inner, so we get rid of the rest of the area. And then we'll send that, get rid of the grid because that's on there. Right click, send that to the back, but then let's pull that edge in just a little bit. But then we can use the colour picker, because again this square came from text. We can use the colour picker to select the exact colour that we want our matting and layering to be. And you can either print out the matting and layering separately, or you can actually print it out as part of the image that you've got on there. And then we can add a drop shadow to the topper. Oh, well, because we're selected on the wreath there, so click on the background on there. So add a drop shadow to the topper, pop it around so it's on the corner. Get quite a big drop shadow on there, soften the drop shadow, And then we've got some actual matting and layering on your topper on the graphics program. So I hope that's answered a couple of questions. There was I kind of blended that one into another one that I was asked about in the Facebook group, which is the Minecraft Studio official group. So I had a couple of people asking me about how to get a solid coloured square. So like I say, just literally, you know, grab your text, any font that's chunky, make it big, use your digital punch for the size of or the shape, any shape. It doesn't have to be a square, it can be a circle, it can be anything you want. Make it the size you want, and then don't forget, if you wanted to, if you've got a circle on there and you're not great at cutting out with scissors and you have got a scan and cut, you can scan that in. Because it's a solid shape, it will then cut it out on your scan and cut as well. So all those different options as well. So I hope I've answered some questions today. I hope you've managed to see the demonstrations a little bit more clearly. Yeah, there's so much that you can do with this USB. I mean, I've loved seeing the things that you guys have done, and the samples that the design team made for the shows were phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, I've had a great time today. I'm going to give you a little. It's not really supposed to tell you this, but 2 weeks today, I'm launching a Christmas version of the Floral Extravaganza. Shh, don't tell anybody. So yeah, 2 weeks today, that one's coming. So yeah, I'm going to be busy this week getting my demonstrations ready for that. But I hope that today you've enjoyed the demonstrations. If there's anything else that you do want to know, just find me on social media. You know, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter. Find me on there. You know, just Diane Pettinell, and I will answer your questions. And you know, I'll put together a list, and we'll do another Facebook Live in a few weeks, and hopefully answer some more. But yeah, drop into the group if you're not in there already. Say hello to everybody. Everybody's so friendly, helpful. So many people in there that are so knowledgeable, been using the graphics program for years, but also newbies popping in every day. Ask your questions. There's no such thing as a daft question. It's just knowledge that you don't have yet. So, you know, get the knowledge, join in with the fun in there. We've also got a challenge going on now, which we're going to have once in a while. So if you've got the Floral Extravaganza and you haven't joined the challenge yet, today's the day to actually make something, because I'm going to be announcing the winner of this month's challenge tonight. So yeah, join in the fun. But yeah, I really do hope you've enjoyed today. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you for your questions. It's been it's so good to be able to answer the questions in detail. I hope I'm getting everything across to you guys in a way that is easy to understand. I do sometimes feel like I ramble quite a bit when I'm doing these, but you know, a lot of you guys know me by now. You know that's what I do. But yeah, I've loved it. I hope you have too. Show me what you've done with your Floral Extravaganza, and I will see you again next time. Bye.